Time for NFL Week 7. Look at that fancy intro video that Eric's put together for us. How you doing this morning, buddy?
You know what? My Spartans got to win. I'm doing good, man. You know, big game this weekend against Michigan. We got to win. It looks like they're going to be going bowling, which is absolutely huge because they have not been to a bowl game forever.
I'm in Dodger mode with the big game coming up later this evening, so I'll be hoping we can seal the deal there. That would be a very, either way, we're going to get New York, or New York, LA, which would be huge for rating, just huge for overall perspective. And we'll see if the Dodgers can seal the deal for me tonight. But we got a lot more important business to handle right now, Eric. There's a NFL game. I think it's at halftime right now in London. Jags had a slow start, but then they scored, I think, 22 straight. So they're up 22-10 right now at the half. So that one's already in the books, but we have a lot more to discuss later on. Let's dive on into it. You'll notice you see the big B in the left corner. We'll talk about Boom Fantasy a little bit later on, and you can see some of the other partners that we work with. Don't forget, on a Sunday like today, there's great horse racing action all over the place. There's a pick six carryover at Santa Anita. So if you're going to be sitting back and watching the races and playing a lot of football games, maybe you want to take a look at some of those races at Santa Anita, put in the pick six carryover, and you can play that over at ExpressBet. Get the drf.com for everything you need. Eric, where's our first game going to be? Seattle at Atlanta. Atlanta is a 3-point favorite in this one, over under 52. So you have an Atlanta team that had a slow start to the season, and they got kind of lucky for a few weeks in a row. Then they come off of a pretty solid victory. It was probably their most impressive win of the season over the Falcons, where they were able to just sort of kind of dominate them a bit. What do we think about this game? Is there a number that you were looking for? Is there a number that you missed? Do you have any opinion one way or the other here? Seattle as a 3-point dog heading to Atlanta.
I mean, when we look at this, both teams are good offensively. This total is crazy high. I think if these teams start out slow, we can live bet the over. Falcons, they have issues in my eyes defensively. And the one that really stands out to me is their 20th DVOA defending the run. This is going to be the easiest run defense that Kenneth Walker has gone against. But the news broke, he's sick, and he got downgraded to questionable. So I don't know. Like, if Walker does play, I think he's a must in your DFS lineups. If he doesn't play, Zach Charbonnet is good, just as the Falcons really do struggle defending the run. I know that the Seahawks do have a bad offensive line, but you can run behind cross. And I think that's going to be the path of the Seahawks look to do. Is AJ Terrell going to be able to stop DK Metcalf? I don't think they are. Grubb has said, and Metcalf has said, that they want to run the ball a little bit more. So I would lean the Seahawks here. I think Walker DFS is a must. Other than that, I'm going to pass.
I hope you're right. I have Walker in your guillotine league, and then he could always use a big game from him there. And what I'm struggling with, I can't get anyone on the waiver wire. I keep getting outbid every week. So I know, like, these weeks I'm struggling because I'm going up higher and higher. And last week, I threw up a bunch of money for Saquon, and I just keep getting outbid. So I got to hold my nose and just think, hopefully I can get through another week here. Let's see, up in the comment section, Rose, great to hear from Rose. Appreciate you checking in. Thanks so much. Let us know some of your plays today. Anything that you've got on your slate. Eric, any other final thoughts? That one before we move along. Seahawks, Falcons.
No, I mean, I think we need to look to fade the Falcons. I don't know if this is the spot though.
I agree. It's that's one of the things that I've struggled with just the last few weeks. The spots, the teams I wanted to fade weren't quite in their spots, and I was forcing it a little bit. And that's what you have to do. You have to make sure that it's the right spot and the right team or the right moment. The team's a little bit banged up, something like that. Don't want to always force it. Let's move along, Eric. Will Levis so far this year for the Titans is graded. Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. He was graded quarterback 35 of 36. So when you start Mason Rudolph, you're not going to be worse than when you're starting Will Levis. And the thing about Mason, which we've seen in these games, and why I would probably lean more towards playing them in a spot like this with a Mason Rudolph, he just makes less of those huge mistakes. He makes less of those game-changing mistakes. He's not trying to do that. He knows his job in the game is to be a quarterback who's more of the veteran, that doesn't turn the ball over, that hands the ball off. I've been really impressed with their running game. And you know what I liked last week, Eric? Their offensive line, they are coming off their best game of the season. They only allowed 6 pressures and no sacks on 30 pass plays, leading to a 90 pass block efficiency rating. That was 6th best in the NFL last week. So in a game, they were blocking well, they ran well, they had 3 healthy, legitimate wide receivers, and they still only got 95 yards passing last week and 241 total yards against the Colts defense. That's kind of average. I just like this move more for them. I think they'll be a little bit more competent. But is it a number that you could jump in on for Tennessee?
No, the only thing I did here is I did Tony Pollard over 22.5 receiving yards. Bills give up the most receiving yards and the most reception to opposing running backs, 82% catch rate, and they allow the most targets to running backs. So you can, with how weak their linebacking core is, their running back in the passing game, huge weapon. With Spears being out, it even means more snaps for Pollard. I am heavily invested in Tony Pollard today, so I'll take I did Pollard over the 22.5 receiving yards. That's it.
Let's see a couple of that are checking in. Eric, nice call on the MSU. I'll give you anything anti-USC. I'm not going to give you any credit because Lincoln Riley has just blown 4 games. So that's a more Lincoln Riley, because it doesn't matter if you're playing.
I have a trivia question for you.
Yeah.
When was the last time USC won a game on the East Coast?
Oh, it was like 2007 or something like that. So I mean, the thing is, what's frustrating is, like, as a fan, I didn't expect a whole lot from them this year, but I do like the whole, like, USC wasn't ready for the Big Ten. Well, that's not the case. USC, if they had a somewhat competent coach, would be 4-0. They've been up by double digits in their 2 losses, and they've been up by 1 score with 4 minutes to go over Michigan and Penn State. So when that happens, it's not a talent thing. It's a execution thing. Because if your talent wasn't as good, you'd get your doors blown off in 1 or 2 of those games. Like, you'd get beat up against the better teams. They're not getting beat up. They don't, when they should pass, they run. When it's late in the game and they should run, they pass. It was 4th and 1. And you kick a field goal. And it's like, as a gambler, you loved that USC was lining up to kick a field goal because that was the only chance you really had, right? If they go for the 4th and 1 and get it, they're done. It's like, why would you even try to kick a field goal there?
The line was what? I had an 8.5.
Oh, you're fine.
I had fine either way. I just did the money line, Robin. And I mean, I think the thing is, and we saw it with Miami 2 weeks ago, these teams, when they have to travel 2 time zones, if it's either east to west, or, you know what I mean, or west to east, I mean, that's when you have to look to fade them. I mean, just because they're clocks. And I mean, that was the main angle, is just because, I mean, even Miami, they went out to Cal. They didn't play that game till like 10 o'clock local time.
And that was Miami should have lost that game.
You know what I mean?
We talked about
it's both ways with
it's
the situational stuff.
These teams aren't really used to it. The frustrating thing, like we're saying, for USC is, like, there's obviously a tiny thing they're doing. Like, you don't get up in these games. You're not playing really well, and then it flips. It becomes a mental thing. When it happens to you, like, once or twice, you start, like, believing that you're going to blow the game again. And it's just one of those things you have to go kind of grab them by the balls and, like, and actually win a game by 3 or 4 scores for it to kind of go the other way. But disappointing, because one of those situations where it doesn't matter who they play right now. It's basically the same thing that's happened every single game. One of the big fades has been, for, as you pointed out, both the Big Ten teams going west, and then, like, those Pac-12 teams going east. Both have not been great. But that's a little
ACC west too.
ACC. Well, any of the really multiple time zones, right, is the key. Like, in conference and multiple time zones, I think, is the one that's always been the key. Straight cash, big Bills here. Bill's big here. Allen historically covers these big numbers at home. It's a good point. Some teams are good beat up on the bully teams, right, Eric? Like the Cowboys were always one of these kinds of teams. So something to keep an eye on. And Rose says AJ Brown and Saquon Barkley, paying you for those guys. Okay. Eric, let's keep rolling along, buddy. Bengals, Browns. Bengals minus 5.5 at the Browns. Can you do it here? Can you get dirty with Watson?
All right, so I did 2 bets here, and the first one is a little weird. I did Cedric Tillman over the 16.5 yards receiving. The thought process here is that he's going to be in the Amari Cooper role, and Amari Cooper had a 30% first read rate. We need to remember that football is like the game of Risk. People are going to play it different ways. And if the offense is built to look at the X wide receiver first, it doesn't matter who's lined up there. They're going to look at the X wide receiver first. So I did Cedric Tillman over the 16.5 yards receiving. In this game, I got the Browns. I got this early. I gave this on my show, which is live every Tuesday night. I got the Browns at 6.5. Last 7 years, home divisional dogs in September and October, 57% against the spread. Last 5 years, 58%. Stefanski is a home dog, 63%. Can we really trust the Bengals laying such a big number? 22nd DVOA in defense overall, passing and rushing. They are the 5th worst tackling team per PFF, 2nd worst pass rush, 9th worst coverage grade. The thing that stood out to me is Watson struggles when facing a pass rush. Hendricks is the only guy that really can create any havoc in the backfield for the Bengals. Weirs and Conklin are both back. That's going to help Watson. I think he's in line to have a decent game. Bengals are allowing over 400 yards per game. Chubb is back, and he's just going to be a huge emotional lead for them because he is the leader. Everyone wants to see this guy do well. Bengals offensive line is a nightmare. Giants without Thibodeau were able to disrupt Burrow. Now you're facing Myles Garrett. I think he's going to be able to make Burrow's life a little tough. Look, Bengals had no business, absolutely no business covering last week. Burrow, 40-yard touchdown, a fumble from Chase Brown goes through the Giants defender's legs. Brown not going down after the 30-yard touchdown run. Public plays last week, 10-3-1, 9-0 road favorites. I think this number is too big. I think there's going to be some regression to the mean. I'll take the Browns here plus the points.
Yeah, that was one of the games that I had last week. If we did a separate podcast about the last 2 weeks of ways I've lost some of these games, it would be pretty. It's only funny now because I've gotten over it now. It wasn't funny the moment that they were happening I'm literally looking at 7 or 8 different ways going like, when you're on a wrong side of a week, woo, it's nasty. And that was another one of them. Eric, let's keep rolling along. Where do we go next? Houston at Green Bay. And this was one of the games that you liked quite a bit today, right?
Yeah, I took Green Bay here. I got it at -3. The thing that really stood out to me is Stroud struggles on the road, less yards per game, worse completion percentage, worse INT to QB ratio. More than 58% of production has gone to Nico Collins. When you look at his splits, when there's no Nico Collins, he just isn't putting up as good of numbers. Mixon being back, look, it does open up the offense because Slowik likes to run in the early downs, and Mixon has been great, averaging 5.5 yards per carry. But without Collins, I don't think this pass game is going to be as effective as it could be. I don't think that the Texans are going to be able to generate a pass rush, and they're going to be missing 2 linebackers. They already struggle defending the run as is. Now you're missing 2 linebackers. This is going to allow Jacobs to get the run game going. I don't think they have any DBs that are going to be able. I don't think the Texans have enough in the secondary to shut down Dobbs, Reed, Wilkes, and crew. I like the Packers here at -3 just because CJ struggles on the road and the linebacker issues.
Eric, with a best bet for today, Miami Dolphins at the Colts. So from some of the key position players here, what do we know about in and out for both of these teams? They were dealing with quarterback issues, running back issues. What do we know by now? I know actives usually like 10 minutes away from when we're recording.
Yeah, I mean, I know Richardson's going to start. So that being said, it would tend for me to look to go to the Dolphins. But you got Snoop Huntley here. For me, the only thing I did in this game is I took the Hill over 55 and a half receiving yards. you have a week off going against the Colts secondary, which is one of the worst in the league that gives up the second most yards. They're going to be able to get some production. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is back there. I know his numbers are insanely down, but this is Tyreek Hill against a weak secondary in a zone coverage where in zone coverage he lights up. I'm going to take the chance here. I'm going to play the over 55.5.
Yeah, one of the plays I had, and we can talk about it at the end, it was one that I used for Boom Fantasy. I went with the Hundley rush attempts because I feel like they're coming off their bye now, and they've gotten a little bit of time to get him acclimated to some sort of the system a little bit, right? So there should be some more stuff for him in there now. And I'm hoping it's just, hey, things are struggling a little bit. Let's just 5 yards out. So I went over his rush attempts because I feel like there are going to be at least a few times where he's going to have to, hey, pack it in and run, pick up a few yards instead of trying to make something happen. So hoping for that one as we get ready to finish this game up. Anything else? Dolphins, Colts, buddy?
Nope. No Taylor, though. No Taylor.
Pittman looks fine. He was banged up a little bit last week. I think he's going to be good to go. We'll confirm everything for all of you in about 9 minutes. That's usually right around 11:30 Eastern is when we get actives and inactives from Shefty and Rappaport and some of the other reporters. So we'll keep monitoring that. The Vikings and the Lions, man, this is probably the game of the week because you have the NFC North with the best point differential ever through 6 weeks by any division since the merger. They're a plus 211 and the AFC West is plus 173. So your division is like 45 points more higher than anyone else. It's pretty crazy. Lions, Vikings, Bears, obviously, and the Packers. And it's been really impressive. Maybe some teams have had a little easier schedules and stuff, but that's what happens with some divisions. Sometimes you play certain other divisions that aren't as strong, and you got a team that's what's really impressive too in the division. You've got two teams led by brand new starting quarterbacks. One of them right here was Sam Darnold, who has started to struggle a little bit, but I do want to give him credit as much as say that he may have been a little banged up last week or the last time we saw him in London because he took a big hit and then he just didn't look the same. Eric, I think he was 14 for 31 or something overall. It just did not complete a ton of passes there. But what this Vikings team has done throughout a lot of the year, they lean on their defense. They lean on that Brian Flores defense that's very uncomfortable, that's tough to figure out. It does feel like the Lions, though, are a really nice matchup because your Lions have a very good offensive line. Your Lions can run the ball. Those are two things that help negate a really impressive defensive front and a crazy defense. So it does feel like that will at least be strength of the Vikings defense on strength of the Lions offensive line, ability to run. Even the way Goff's been playing the last couple of weeks, he went from that stretch where he was struggling to just incredible play over the last few weeks. I think I pointed out a few of these stats earlier in the week. The only quarterbacks ever with 150 plus rating in back-to-back starts, Drew Brees and Jared Goff. Really impressive.
Yeah. How are the Lions going to handle not having Hutchinson? I think that's going to kind of be the big thing. Grade out is the best pass defense and the best pass rushing defense with Hutchinson there. First game here. What is that going to look like? How is Glenn going to scheme to stop Jefferson? Jefferson averaging 8 receptions a game, 146 yards against the Lions in his career. Lions are obviously going to have safety high in them, look to double him, force the other guys to beat him. Teams that are 5-0 in their 6th game are 57% ATS, but when they are home favorites, it's all the way down to 25% favorite in general, 45.5%. Campbell as a dog is 61%. I really think the big thing is what is Aaron Jones's health. They did make this trade for Cam Akers, which makes, if you read the tea leaves, makes you think this is a little bit more serious than we know of. And the offense, the second half in London, really did struggle with no Aaron Jones. The weakness of the Flores defense is going to be defending the run against a good offensive line. I think that's what the Lions are going to do. I think they're going to lean on Gibbs, lean on Montgomery, which is going to open up the passing game. Vikings do struggle covering the middle of the field. They're gray on the outside, a little weak on the slot, so that's going to open stuff up for A.J. Brown. And then I don't think they have the speed-wise for Williamson when Gilmore's your best one-on-one coverage guy. I'm going to take the Lions here. Maybe this is just a homer play on me, but I'm getting one of the best coaches in the league right now, ATS, at a plus number as a dog, and I see a path with the run game and attacking with A.J. Brown because the Vikings do struggle in the slot. So I'll take the Lions here. I got them at 1.5.
Lions there. I'm leaning Lions also with you on that one, Eric. Let's keep rolling along. Up next, we head to Eagles at the Giants. This was one of my plays where it looks like Neighbors will be back. The only thing that's sort of strange is like Daniel Jones has these insane home road splits where like at home in the past 2 seasons, he's 0-5 with 9 turnovers, no touchdown passes or runs, and 3.97 yards per dropback. They've scored 6.2 points per game with 1 offensive touchdown and 3 pick sixes in those 5 games. That's insane. It's one of those things where it's not like he's like it's an outlier thing, and it has to do with some of the teams that he's played and some of the defenses that he's played. But that's one of like those really nuts stats that you look at. All that being said, I feel like this is a good spot for the Giants. I mean, the Eagles, they didn't really look impressive coming off their bye with Sirianni getting into it with fans against the Browns in that weird game. Like, I still don't know what to think about this Eagles team, and I don't know if they should be favored on the road by a full field goal against a division rival that's underrated. I mean, when you go through the Giants' overall season now, and you start to look at some of what they've done, they have a lot of these games where, gosh, that game looks a little bit better now. Week 1, they got beat up by the Vikings. And, now we realize the Vikings are pretty good, and that's a tough defense to have to play in week 1. They lost a game to the Commanders when they didn't have a field goal kicker. And their kicker got hurt. They would have absolutely beat the Commanders if they just had any kicker off the street that could have kicked them an extra point or a 30-yard field goal. And then against Dallas, they lose by 4 when Jones overthrows a couple guys, and they easily could have scored a touchdown and won that game. This team might be a little bit better than the overall perception is. And I know everybody wanted to jump off of Dable last year because the year was so bad, but you and I were pretty high on Dable a couple years ago. I think he's a solid coach.
Yeah, I think he's decent. I think he's pretty good. In terms of this game, I just did Neighbors over 72.5 yards. Eagles give up the 9th most yards a game. Neighbors is going to command the ball. I know Wendell Robinson is second in the league in targets, but it's Neighbors. And he's going to, like I said, he's going to demand the ball. Eagles are bottom 5 DVOA defending the pass, 9th most yards. When you look at his target share, I'll take Neighbors here over the 72.5. In terms of side, I want nothing to do here.
I'm on the Giants. We go to Raiders at the Rams. So is this O'Connell again for the Raiders?
It's looking like it, yes.
And that's the thing, like we've seen Minshew for a while, for a few years. Like Minshew didn't play fantastically for the Raiders. I just don't know if Minshew, like the difference between Minshew and O'Connell, is going to make any noise for them. That's what I guess. It's just that you have this younger guy that you want to get a little bit more of a look at overall to see if he's got anything. But
I mean, they're going to have the first pick. I mean, realistically, they're going to have the first pick
because this is a different team than they were supposed to be this year. They were supposed to be this good defense, and within 2 weeks, all of their key defensive players were banged up. And so that defensive front that they were going to lean on, they just didn't have that identity at all. Yeah. So then you get rid of Adams, which is fine. He doesn't want to be there. But now that was at least when you're looking at this team coming into the year, you're going, okay, really good defense. They've got 9 returning defensive players. They've got 1 stud receiver and a couple nice tight ends that you might be able to just focus on and just pepper them the ball quite often. And we saw 1 or 2 games where that worked. Heck, the Raiders beat the Ravens in that game. But they just, I think it's another one where you see, I don't know how good of a coach Pierce is. And we definitely know from Mark Davis and the top down that this team has not been run well and has not been led well over the last few years. When you think about Gruden, have you seen some of Gruden's TikToks that he's doing? the crazy.
They're a little cringy.
Dude. Oh my! It's like he's just reading the box score of the running backs, like and their stats, but he doesn't. He like gets all crazy. Don't forget about McDaniels. So we've had some not great head coaches over here. Do you have any play in this one? Because I'm a Rams fan. Rams have had some bad luck this year with injuries. But, man, I look at this game, and even if they get some of their pieces back healthy, should they be a full touchdown favor over that many teams?
I know with me, I did nothing, absolutely nothing this game. No cup. So, obviously, Tutu Atwell. Tutu's got some value in DFS. Trey Tucker's got some value in DFS because there's no Meyer, no oh my God, what's his name? Obviously, no Adams. Bowers is going to play a little wide receiver. The one I really wanted to find, but I couldn't find it, is I wanted to find. Are you ready for this one?
Yep.
Harrison Bryant. I want some Harrison Bryant props today. But I could not find any Harrison Bryant props listed, just because when you look at the Rams do struggle defending the tight end, and with Mike Meyer being out, Harrison Bryant, who was a top pick coming out of Florida Atlantic, he had 3 receptions for 24 yards last game. So you give me a prop that's in the teens, I'm going to be taking that. Disappointed I didn't get him. I think you can play him in DFS just because the Rams, like I said, do struggle defending the tight end. But in terms of side, I think this is a little bit too many.
Up next, we move to, where are we going next? Panthers, Commanders. This was one of my prop plays for the week. And man, now we're all the way up to 10 here, Eric. Is this the buy-in point for us on the Panthers?
I took it at 8.5.
I know.
Was shocked.
I cannot believe it moved up this high.
It's crazy because Allen, who's the interior offensive lineman, that's a stud for the Commanders, is out. And the Panthers have just been leaning on the run game. Who's going to be able to stop Chuba Hubbard? I just don't.
That's exactly, that was my play. I played over the 70.5 yards. Their, you know what? Their offensive line is not bad. The Panthers. It's actually much more competent than people were expecting this year. When you look at offensive line rankings and stuff, they're actually really solid. And the Commanders have one of the worst defensive lines. When you were just looking at PFF rankings and they rank the units in particular, Commanders were a bottom 5 run defense and defensive line. And I think the Panthers were ranked 6th, something like that. They're a pretty solid offensive line. Hubbard's rushed for over 90 yards straight in 4 games. I think it's a pretty good spot for them.
Yeah, I have 2 bets in this game. My first bet that I did was I took Deontay Johnson over 64.5 yards receiving. Commanders give up the 6th most receiving yards per game to opposing wide receivers. Since Stalton has come in, Johnson has averaged 11 targets, 6 receptions, 77 yards, gone over this 3 of 4 games. The only game he didn't go over it was when Jalen Johnson was defending him. Commanders heavy zone scheme at a league worst success rate of 39.3%. Johnson leads the Panthers with a 23.9% target share versus man coverage. Last week, Zay Flowers went 9 for 132 against them. So I really like Deontay Johnson here. I bet his over of 64.5. And then, like you, I took the Panthers here. Quinn as a favorite, 37%, laying 3 or more, 41%, 7 or more, 36%. Last 7 years, these non-conference games, the favorites are 45%. Panthers have a top 10 offensive line per PFF. They should be able to run the ball against the Commanders, who are 21st DVOA, defending the run, giving up 119.2 yards per game, and in the rush game, averaging 5. They're allowing 5.3 yards per carry. Those numbers should go up now, especially with Allen not playing. They're going to be able to run the ball. This is going to open up the passing lane for Dalton to attack that league worst 39.3 success rate in zone. Teams historically convert 4th downs at 51% of the time. Commanders are 9 for 9. Can you guess the last time a team started 9 for 9 on 1st downs?
Wow. No. I wouldn't even know when to guess.
The 2004 St. Louis Rams.
Wow.
That
So
was
it's just the
one.
regression that you're talking about. Like, we're all talking about it. Last week felt like the game that everybody was excited for because you had Lamar versus the new Lamar, Daniels, right? So that was the big game. This is a flat spot after you've been getting up and you feel like you're a better team. You're a double-digit point favorite. Like, this is one of those sleepy spots where we look up at halftime and like Carolina's up by 1, or like it feels like that kind of a game.
Yep.
Erik, any other thoughts on this one before we move along?
Let's go Panthers.
So question for you today. Here are the actives and inactives that Schefter just posted. Active: Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker, Ray Davis, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, all active. Inactive: Will Levis, Jameis Winston. They said that the backup today is DTR for Cleveland. That's strange to me. Is someone like going to trade for Jameis or something? Like, that almost seems like.
Who will trade for him though?
Right. That's
the Saints.
You know, like who feels like they're still in the mix enough that going and getting a Jameis could help them? Maybe the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, because why would Jameis not be backing him up? That makes no sense. We didn't hear. That's a weird one, right? I just noticed that, and it kind of like the hairs on my back of my neck went up for a moment. I was a little antenna there. So just something to keep an eye on as we monitor that. Also, 24th birthday today for Kenneth Walker. So maybe you get a little bit of a birthday end zone, birthday love there.
Buddy.
Yeah, maybe a birthday anytime for Kenny Walker. Erik, let's get to another one. I think we were on the same side in this one, right? I mean, we've got the Chiefs at plus money. Are we taking Mahomes as a dog in here at +2 or plus the 112 on the money line?
Look, I took the Chiefs here.
I think you have to.
plus 1.5. I can't find my notes.
So Chiefs, a couple things that I thought were pretty interesting. They've won 11 straight games without scoring more than 27 points. They've gone 16 straight regular season games without winning the turnover margin. And all of that tells you this team just finds ways to win late in the game. And I know a lot of people crap on the fact that the Chiefs like always get the benefit of the doubt from the officials and that kind of thing. Well, they've actually been penalized the most of any team except for the Saints, like since 2018, when you're talking about penalty yards. So it just doesn't match the narrative that people want to build. Like, they actually get penalized quite often. And according to DVOA, they've actually played the most difficult schedule in the NFL so far. So defensively, they've been really impressive this year. That's where, when they don't have as much on the offensive side, and once Rice got hurt and Pacheco got hurt, and they haven't had as many of those weapons, their defense has been really, really solid. And honestly, one of the better defenses in the league.
Yeah. Teams that are 5-0 to start the season and are playing their 6 games that are road dogs the last 20 years are an insane 71% ATS. Mahomes as a small dog. Now, granted, I know the sample size is very small, 81%. Reed as a road dog, 41, 21, and 2, 66%, 28.3% ROI. Reed with extended rest is 59% against the number. The key to this 49ers offense is Debo, and he's struggled against the Chiefs. For his career, he's averaging 4 receptions, 38 yards, and has yet to score a touchdown. The biggest difference between the 49ers this season and last season is the red zone. The team last year was scoring. This year, and the best team in the league scoring in the red zone. This year, 25th best red zone team. That is the reason for the huge drop. Look, Ayuk had 1 game, but as long as Kittle and Debo are there, he is in complete afterthought. He is not as good as people think. Brandon Ayuk. Niners defense has been off this season. When you look at the PFF numbers, Warner, Bosa, great. They are PFF graded the 7th worst tackling team, 9th worst defending the run. Chiefs offensive line, a top 10 unit per PFF. I think they're going to be able to protect Mahomes and give Hunt some running lanes. I know people thought with no Rice and no Pacheco that this Chiefs offense was going to take a step back. we forget that this offense was designed for Kareem Hunt. When Reed first took over, he drafted Kareem Hunt and designed this for him. Then the off the field stuff happened. He left. Now that is why he's thriving here. Juju Smith-Schuster was 18th in yards after catch when he was during his first stint when he was playing the Rice role. Then he left to go to the Patriots. Now he's back. Look, I think this offense isn't going to miss a beat. And for those that play DFS, you know who's going to be insanely under-owned this week?
Who's that?
Mahomes. And you know who scored 28 points in the Super Bowl against the 49ers defense? Patrick Mahomes. I'm just saying you could do a nice little Mahomes and Kelsey stack in your millionaire maker, and no one's gonna have that.
Mahomes 10-3 outright as an underdog. Only other quarterbacks with 10 start as an underdog. Alex Smith, Jimmy G, Lamar, Ben, they all had good records there, but he's just incredible. 10-3 outright as an underdog. That's a 769 win percentage. Eric, I think I made one of our consensus best bets, the Chiefs plus the 2. That's one that you and I are both putting together. So we'll do a little recap of some of our best plays at the end, but we only have a couple more games left to set you up for in NFL Week 7. We're heading next to the Jets at the Steelers. So Jets, are they able to settle in now week after the fired coach issue? They've got Devontae Adams in. They got everything they want now. There's like no more excuses. If Salah was the reason why they weren't winning, well, Salah's gone. If they needed Devontae Adams, he's there. I was cringing when he like showed up in the video with Aaron Rodgers and was like, "Hey, I'm there in the background." It's like, oh my God, just give me a break here.
Disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting.
It was. But the thing about them is Devontae Adams going to help any team? Yes, absolutely. He's an amazing wide receiver. But is that what they needed that much there? Or were there holes in different spots kind of all over that they still need to fill?
Here's the thing. He's not playing the back 4.
Yeah.
He's not playing the front 4. This team has some holes, and I don't think he is going to solve and
fill the void.
Any of the void. With that being said, there's no Russell Wilson started as Justin Fields. What are we doing here? And Tomlin is just a man of the people, dude. Like he gave him his word, and that is why he is doing this. He gave Russ his word. He's like, look, if you come here, you will be the starter, blah, 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 whatever. It wouldn't surprise me if they lose this game,
and then they go right back to Fields.
Then they go right back to Fields
because it's he wants to throw it out there to let the play dictate it, and it's not like he has to make the decision, because if people see what Wilson does, then they'll go, Fields was obviously better, we have to go to Fields. You just, with decisions like this, you got to be careful, because Tomlin's always been incredible with this type of thing. He doesn't ever lose the locker room. You just got to hope that there aren't guys in there going, well, coach, why would we be benching Fields? We're playing pretty well right now. And that's what you don't want. You don't want there to be a section of Justin Fields guys in the locker room that start to pout a little bit, or they don't give 110% with Russell Wilson out there blocking for him or doing something like that. I'm not saying everyone does that, but if you don't have a good leadership in your locker room, that kind of thing happens.
People do that, though.
Yeah, all over. We're human. We're not machines. We're not robots. Like, we have feelings and emotions, and if your coach or the coaches from the top down haven't made things like clear to you, then you get confused sometimes. You're wondering what's going on. So, if Russ comes out there and plays awesome, then they have a conversation. If he struggles, I think the decision's pretty easy, but I just don't know what to do in this game because of that. I'm really not sure what we're going to see from Russ.
I think real quickly, back to the whole Devontae Adams thing is,
please,
Adams should be definitely suspended if he faked that injury.
I know.
That is a little BS in my eyes that he is not. And people are calling about Garrett Wilson now.
Yeah.
I think Garrett Wilson is in for a rude awakening when he sees how much his target and
participation is going to be Dunzo, right?
Tomlin is a dog, 65%, home dog, 75%, primetime dog, 62%. I feel this number is a little bit inflated. It's 2024, not 2019. With the Adams trade, Jets can be run on. This is one of those games. Najee Harris is in line to have a good game on. Can the Jets offensive line protect against Watt? Can Hayward? How are these young guys on the Jets going to respond when Adams is getting all these touches? Coaching advantage for the Steelers, obviously. But Russell Wilson's starting. So I want nothing to do with this game. Look, if this gets to a situation where Fields comes back in, I'll look to live bet it. But right now, nothing. Just completely nothing.
Yeah, I'm not sure really where the value is right now on this one. We've got two Monday night games this week again. Baltimore at Tampa. This is a pretty good game here, Eric. Tampa is, I think, a little bit better than the common perception. They're definitely better than I was expecting them this year. I thought they would regress a little bit. The division's so wide open. And what's impressive is their offense. They've been able to really move the ball and score quite a bit. Baker's been very, very good overall. And now they're running the ball much, much better. They come off of a big performance rushing last time out. They actually had 594 total yards, which is a franchise record. So this is one of those situations where, as a gambler, I would want to probably fade Tampa coming off of a game like that where they went so crazy offensively. But I do also look at this game as, if I was betting this game individually, I'd almost always want to take Tampa at home plus the 3.5. That's where me as a gambler, I kind of have a tough time, where I've got these mixed feelings. Like, I may have wanted to fade this team coming off of that big performance last week, but you know what? Now, because the spot is better and they're getting value, do we come to them at home against the Ravens? Do you have a strong play in this one?
I took the Ravens here at 3.5. Look, Jackson laying over 3.5 is 41% against the number. I really think Vita VA is the difference here. He's going to.
Oh, you got the Bucks plus the 3.5, right?
Plus 3.5. Excuse me. I think he's going to be able to clog up that middle, not allow Derrick Henry to run the ball. Ravens, if they are serious about trying to win a championship this year, they need to have a serious discussion about firing their offensive coordinator. This team is getting thrown on way too much with the talent level that they have. I don't think they have enough to stop Evans if he plays Godwin and company. Jackson historically does struggle in Florida. Ravens have a divisional game on deck, possible letdown spot. So I'm going to take the Bucks here. Primetime home dog against a bad Ravens defense, as crazy as it sounds.
Yep, I'm on the Bucks side as well, especially once you got that extra half there. Let's finish up, Eric. Final game Monday night, Cardinals, Chargers. Cardinals are a slight dog hosting the Chargers in here. These are two of the teams in the league this year that I've got the toughest reads on, because the Cardinals feel like this every other team, where it's good game, bad game, good game, bad game. The Chargers, they've taken advantage of a kind of a soft schedule early on, but they're a team that runs the ball. Herbert hasn't really been playing well. They don't have a lot of playmakers. Yeah, he's been hurt. And the scheme, he's not necessarily the quarterback you need for the scheme they're running. They're not asking a whole lot out of their quarterback either. So you don't even need someone who is quite as good as a Herbert to play that role. Do you have any opinion one way or the other? I'm leaning Cardinals at home as a slight dog.
You have to do it. You have to take the Cardinals. Murray as a dog. Chargers have a ton of injuries. Chargers
offensive line, right?
Offensive line, huge. The lack of playmakers. Harrison is coming back, and they have this back and forth game. Murray looking good, looking bad. Murray historically does go better at home, so I'm just going to take them here plus the 2.5.
Okay, Eric, let's roll through some of our best plays for today. For you, Eric, Packers -3, one of your strong plays.
Yep, I just love the spot here. I think CJ is a little bit overvalued.
I talked about the Giants plus the 3 as one of my strong plays here. Giants as a home dog, neighbors coming back, should be able to move the ball a bit, and just haven't been all that impressed with the Eagles. Eric, one of our consensus best bets on the show would be Chiefs plus the 2. You could probably add Panthers plus the 10 onto that one as well. We both jumped in on that side. And then Erik, we're going to tell everybody about Boom Fantasy. Were these the 2 you put together? It was Pollard and Tillman?
What I did in Boom, our entry for the day, our combined entry was you had Hubbard over the 70.5, Huntley over 6.5 rushing attempts. I did the Tillman over the 16.5 receiving yards, Pollard over 23.5 receiving yards, and then Hill over 50.5. But I did bet these straight.
And then these are individual plays for Erik too. So if you want to head on over to Boom and put a couple together, maybe you can just put Erik's 2 together. You can put my 2 together. Hubbard over 7.5 rushing yards and Huntley over 6.5 rush attempts. Those are 2 of our best plays for today. So Erik, just remind everyone, we tweeted this out, right, with the picture of it. So if they want to try to win some of the cash, we're going to give away $25. So if that hits, we're going to send money to someone. But so make sure you go right now and subscribe to the YouTube, follow, and sign up for Boom Fantasy. And then if this thing hits, we'll always be paying it out.
Yeah, you got to make sure, though, that you drop your Cash App. So we know if you don't drop your Cash App, then we are not.
Cash App or Venmo, just a way, PayPal even fine. Give us a way that we can send you the money so we know and that we don't have to go back and forth all the time and we can just get it sent to you right away. Anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
Let's go Lions.
Let's go Lions. Big day for your Lions. Don't forget that Santa Anita meet keeps rolling along. Santa Anita has a pick 6 carryover today. So if you want some help, head to drf.com. You get those past performances there for Santa Anita. And our favorite contests are back today too, Erik. Those Pick'Em contests, which you've actually won previously.
I have.
Free to enter. Let me pull up the website just so everybody can get one look at it. Pick'em.santaanita.com. It's 12 props. You don't have to put in your credit card or anything like that. All you have to do is just sign up for a free account, fill out the 12 props, answer the tiebreaker, and you're set. And if you are the winner, they'll contact you. You will win $1,000 for today's Sunday contest. Totally free. Great way to build up your bankroll. Check it out. Pick'em.santanita.com. Erik, buddy, week 7, man, we are flying along through the NFL season. I wish you the best of luck in all your plays today, buddy.
Let's cash, my friend.
All of you out there, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate you being part of the Sunday morning. As we say goodbye, we wish you the best of luck.